and the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. And if you jump on here live here on this Sunday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Just got done finishing the Daytona 500. It wrapped up about 30 or so minutes ago. A fantastic weekend of racing if you are a race fan, and I think everybody knows I am. Hey there, Keveron. Glad to have you here as always. Hey there, Marcus. Glad to have you here as always. And I mentioned a couple of weeks ago about going to have an interview with a wrestler here on the channel, and I did that not this past Thursday, but Thursday before that when I interviewed Lucas Da Silva about the upcoming wrestling show for Scrappy Championship Wrestling. So I had that about a week and a half ago. I have another interview hopefully coming up in the next few days with another up and coming wrestler that's been doing this about a year now and is already wrestling all over the Southeast. Hopefully that'll be coming up in the next week or so. I love to interview these wrestlers, especially young wrestlers, so they go ahead and have a chance to get their name out there. So when they make it big and get it big, they'll always have the interview to look back on because it'll be on YouTube for as long as I leave it there, and I have no plans on taking any of those videos down. I've got some interviews from 3 or 4 years ago that are still on the channel, and I was too, Marcus, but just him having the pole made me feel good because the last 2 years his car has been awful and had no speed at all. So just having speed made me feel like, hey, they've made some progress. Then he got a top 10 finish in stage 2 and got those points. So I was still overall very happy. But let's go back to Friday night. To begin with, we had the Craftsman Truck Series race where Georgia native Chandler Smith came away with the win. Chandler Smith still just 23 years old. I think he's going to be a good race car driver one day, already doing good in the Craftsman Truck Series. We had Gio Ruggiero second, Christian Eckes third, Ty Majeski fourth, and John Hunter Nemechek fifth. I think Ty Majeski is going to be the next Jack Sprague, the next Ron Hornaday, the next Matt Crafton, and guys that just make a living in the Craftsman Truck Series. He's been there about a decade now and doesn't show any sign of wanting to move up to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series or the Cup Series. He's 31 years old, already won one Craftsman Truck Series championship. Seems content racing there. 6 through 10 was Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Brendan Queen, who they call Butterbean, Caden Honeycutt, Tyler Ankrum, and Stuart Friesen. Now, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. made his first ever Craftsman Truck Series start Friday night. So first time ever in the truck and came home sixth. And most people start in trucks and move up slowly but surely. But Ricky Stenhouse Jr. pretty much started in the, what was then, I believe, still the Busch Series and then into Cup. But the trucks drive so much different than the cars. So to make your debut in a truck and finish sixth, not a bad day for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And then yesterday in the O'Reilly Auto Parts race from Daytona, we had Austin Hill, Justin Allgaier, Ryan Sieg, Jordan Anderson, and Sammy Smith was your top 5. Now, Ryan Sieg was actually involved in an incident early in the race and went laps down and came back and got his lap back and then finished third. And Austin Hill has 15 career wins in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, but 11 of them have came at super speedways. So if he can ever find a way to be more competitive at mile racetracks or mile and a half racetracks, he's going to be a really good race car driver. He dominates Daytona, Atlanta, and Talladega, but struggles everywhere else. 6 through 10 was Ryan Ellis, Carson Quapple, Blaine Perkins, the defending O'Reilly Auto Parts Series champion, Jesse Love, and Raja Caruth. Now, as far as today's Daytona 500, Tyler Reddick comes home with the win, his first ever Daytona 500 win. Now, Tyler Reddick never led in this race. He did not lead until coming to the checkered flag, which is the most important time to be leading the race. And hey there, Stuff. I'm glad to have you here. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. comes home second, followed by Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, and Brad Keselowski. 6 through 10 was Zane Smith, who actually won stage one. Chris Buescher, Riley Herbst, Josh Berry, and Darrell Wallace Jr. Hey there, 101. Glad to have you here. Now, Marcus, a few minutes ago, mentioned the wreck. You know, Daytona is known for wrecks. Had one wreck in the race that involved 20 cars. Now, it only took a couple of them out of the race, but still 20 cars. That's basically half your field involved in one wreck. But they had a wreck coming to the checkered flag, and it was basically Logano, Elliott, Keselowski, Zane Smith. All those guys came to the checkered flag, crossed the finish line, spinning. Now, had they wrecked about 5 seconds earlier, my man Kyle Busch would have got around all of them and came home with the top 10 finish, but they were spinning out, crossing the start-finish line to end the race. But Tyler Reddick gets the win, so congratulations to Tyler. We know that the Daytona 500 is the biggest race in motorsports, so Tyler Reddick, no matter what he does, the rest of his career will always be known as a Daytona 500 champion, and that will never be taken away from him. Now, this upcoming weekend, we have all three series back on the track again. We've got a double header coming up on Saturday, going to be at Atlanta for another good super speedway race. Now, Atlanta is not built like a super speedway, but since they reconfigured it, it races like a super speedway. So the racing will be the pack racing just like we saw today at Daytona. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series races at 1:30 Eastern Time on Saturday afternoon. And then the O'Reilly Auto Parts race is coming up Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. And then next Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time will be the NASCAR Cup Series race from Atlanta Motor Speedway. I know it's now called Echo Park, but to me it's always going to be the Atlanta Motor Speedway, because if you say Atlanta, people know right away where. But when you say Echo Park, people kind of don't know where that is. Like, you know, Daytona, that's in Florida. You know, Richmond, Virginia, Martinsville, Virginia, Bristol, Tennessee. Well, obviously, Las Vegas is Las Vegas. Texas is Texas. Iowa Speedway is in Iowa. Kansas Speedway is in Kansas. Chicago Speedway, Chicago. But when you come out and say Echo Park, people can say, where's that? So I just say Atlanta, but it is now called the Echo Park Speedway if you want to be politically correct. So I was very happy with all three races. I thought all three races were very, very, very good. And I'm so happy that the NASCAR season is now underway. And by the way, if you were not at SWA's Reloaded last night, you missed a fantastic show. Seth Stevens walks away still the new blood champion. Forewarned defeated Dangerous Affairs in a street fight falls count anywhere match to become the two-time SWA Tag Team Champions. And Brent Hudson walks out with the SWA Premier Championship. Next show's coming up on March the 14th. They changed the name. I want to say it was back in 2023, I believe, Marcus, and it's all about sponsorship. It's still in Atlanta. It's still there. Nothing changed. It's just Echo Park wanted to fork in millions and millions and millions of dollars to become the primary sponsor of that speedway. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Echo Park, I believe, is a dealership, I think, or something that's right around the Atlanta area. So they paid that speedway and the owners of that speedway millions of dollars to have their sponsorship name on the speedway. So everything is the same except for now it's called Echo Park Speedway, and it's all about the money. Echo Park said, "Hey, we're going to pay you blank amount of money to put our name on the side of your big, huge speedway." And the folks in Atlanta said, "You know what? We can do that. We can keep calling it Atlanta Motor Speedway for nothing, or we can call it Echo Park Speedway for, blank millions of dollars. Yeah, we'll do that." And that's the only reason. Nothing else changed except for that. But Echo Park wanted to get their name out there because for most people, if you don't live in the Atlanta area, you've never heard of Echo Park. So Echo Park thought it was a good way to get their name and their product out there. And I believe it is a car dealership in the Atlanta area, if I'm not mistaken. You can check on that, Marcus. I could be wrong, but I believe it is a car dealership in the Atlanta area. They're trying to make a name for themselves so that folks outside of the Atlanta area know what Echo Park is. But any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Police are looking for a man who stabbed 6 people with knitting needles. Authorities say he appears to be following a pattern. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.